I'm the executive editor of the Salina Journal, and a lot of times when you come to these functions, people will say things, and then later on they'll say, well, I didn't know there was reporters there. Well, there is a reporter. We did have a reporter, so whatever you say is fair game. It's an open meeting. So I've been asked to moderate this by Lisa Mailer. Basically what I'll be doing is keeping time and letting the candidates know when they're about ready to run out of time. The questions were supplied by Lisa, and I've got some leeway to ask something if I want, if we have enough time. So we'll take it away from then. Janice and Tom, I've already told them. What I'll do is I'll ask a question, and they've got 2 minutes to give an answer, and then the other person will have 2 minutes to make a response. And I'll raise my hand when they're about, got about 30 seconds to go to let them know what's going on. So, with that, we'll get started. Okay, first question. Education is the only state function required in the Constitution. The legislature is specifically charged by our founding fathers with funding our schools. The legislature, and this is quoted, the legislature shall make suitable provision for the finance of the education interests of the state, close quote. Funding impacts class size, resource availability, teacher attraction and retention, and every other facet of education. The last few years have seen dramatic cuts to the school funding, and as a result, we are beginning to see lagging student achievement. What is your plan for addressing school funding? Go ahead.
Well, the first step will be to restore the funding that was cut in 2009, and then we have to go back. Then we have to go back in as soon as the legislature opens its door in January and repeal the Brownback tax plan that was passed. I'm speaking to the choir here. To a certain extent, I know, but you know that the tax plan that was passed essentially cuts the third leg off of the stool for income revenue in the state. So, for instance, we are it's fiscally conservative, I believe, to get your revenue from 3 sources: property, income tax, and sales tax. The legislature essentially has cut income tax in the state so that the only people left paying income tax in the state starting in January will be wage earners and some retirees that can't afford to go out and hire a lawyer to become a subchapter S corporation, probably. So this is a serious issue. We're expecting a $2.5 billion deficit in the next 2 or 3 years because of these cuts. This is not a tax cut. My opponent has called it a tax cut. It is not a tax cut, it's a tax shift. This will shift the burden to students and teachers and faculty and parents who own property in this state and grandparents who own property in this county. It's a shift because if this money can't be made up, it will essentially shift to the local government, and it will be primary property tax. Sorry. Okay, so you are correct, it is a constitutional amendment. I wanted to bring that up because in the past few sessions, there have been enough senators in the Senate to block constitutional amendments and block some of the things that are happening at the House level. Mr. Arky's been in the House for the last 2 years, and as you know, Pete Brongart was one of the moderate Republicans that was beat in the primary, but it takes 14 senators to block a constitutional amendment, so keep that in mind.
Thank you very much for coming tonight. I appreciate you coming on this important subject of school funding. Let's talk about the cuts that did happen to your budget. They did happen under the Sevella's administration. It was cut by $388 per pupil, and those were several cuts that happened during that tax year. The next cut was also under the Democrats with Parkinson, and the Bay State aid would cut another amount to cut it a total of $463 per student. However, if we look at the funding formula and how schools are funded, it's very important to look at how we give you the total dollars that we spend here. 3 parts. There is the local effort, which is the LEV and the LOB. The second part is the federal part, and the third part is the state part. If we look at 2009, the schools receive totally across the state $5,589 million, just to take kind of a round number. In 2012, this last fiscal year, we're back up to $5,771 million. And if you will go on the USD 305 website, you can look at this thing that's published, required by state statute, Senate Bill 111. This is called Budget at a Glance, and it will cover the last 3 years of USD 305's budget. And some of the interesting things on this, they have actual spending per student here in the district. In 2010-2011, the actual amount spent per student was $14,566 per student. Actually spent in 2011 and 12 was $15,605. That's an increase of 7%. And the budget for 2012-2013 is going to be $16,676. I don't see any cuts in funding for USD 305. There are several school districts that are even up above this amount. The average spending per student in the state is right at $12,300.
Okay, the Kansas Public Employee Retirement System, which we all know as KPERS, provides the primary retirement income for many Kansans, including public school employees. Unfortunately, it has a large unfunded liability that continues to worry both legislators and KPERS members. This is further complicated by the fact that current retirees do not have any provision for a regular cost of living adjustment, which we know is a COLA. What is your philosophy concerning KPERS and the COLA? What specific ideas and or legislation, would you support? And the first one goes to Tom.
Thank you. Yes, KPERS is a very critical part, and I'm part of that. That's going to be part of my retirement when I eventually retire, probably never. I expect to be probably in my 70s before I can afford to retire. You're right. When the state took over the schools retirement program, it was completely underfunded by several $billion. Actuarially, you're required to give 80%. We were barely at 50% when we took over the school board retirement. We've got that up to 64% funded. We need to continue to do that. And I'll be real honest, you're probably going to put more into the retirement program if you're going to expect anything out. Right now we have funding through the year 2033, and that's a good thing because that gives us several years to work on this. The other thing about KPERS is there is a contract with the employees. We have guaranteed that you're going to get paid that amount that you earned. You put in the funds, the state matched those. But there was no provision in that contract for a COLA. You signed it, you need to read the fine print. I signed the same thing. We're not going to have a COLA until we fund the $8 billion shortfall we have right now in the KPERS system.
My husband is a beneficiary of KPERS also, and so I'll put that out there. I'm a supporter of KPERS, I'm a supporter of the COLA. I think that everyone, especially after they put in their years of hard work in one of the most important careers that you can, which is the public education system, should be ensured a quality of life and a dignified retirement. So I will look at that, I will support it every way I can. I think that oftentimes we get we're presented with these Hobbesian choices, essentially, which say that you can have this, but you can't have that. And I think that we have to set our priorities. I believe that the Brownback administration, which Mr. Archie is part of, I think he's part of it, given his votes. I think that we have to put our money where our mouth is, and we have to start to set our priorities. Their priorities are wrong, and I believe that we have to start to honor the teachers and the public employees that have served our communities.
Yes, I'd like to address that. The KPERS group that was put together, which was both the Senate and the House, came up with another plan, which would essentially be a 401k style plan. That would give you the option to take your retirement dollars. We would still match you the same amount that the KPERS participants would have, but you could put them and invest them in your own mutual funds. So you would have a lot of options there. That new program starts this coming January. So if you want to transfer over to that, you're certainly welcome to do that. Of course, you take a lot more of the risk. So there are some options coming up, and I think it's a good choice for all state employees to have that available to them.
Okay, moving on to question number 3. Our community currently offers a broad spectrum of curricular, extracurricular, and co-curricular opportunities. Touting, among other things, a nationally recognized debate program, stunning theater performances, a close relationship with the vocational college, and a broad spectrum of advanced placement programs. Our local schools are more than just reading, writing, and arithmetic. How would you define a suitable education for our children? Can we go with Janice?
First of all, civil education does not mean that it depends on what zip code you live in. So that's the first step. We have to provide that civil education to all of our citizens, all of our students in Kansas, not just those who have the wealth. For instance, I've heard Carol Byers say before that I believe if you raise a mill, in some districts you may raise $14,000. In Johnson County, if you raise a mill, you raise, I don't know, $150,000, something like that. I hope I'm quoting you right, Carol. Anyway, I think that it's not about zip code, it's about equality, and I'm fully supportive of all the things that you mentioned as far as it is more than just reading and writing. This is all. It is more than just reading and writing, and I think that we have to, again, set our priorities, understand that our children are our future, and that it really is not about you and it's not about me. It's about how the big people, us the big people, invest in our kids and make sure that they have a good future.
I moved here specifically in 1992 to raise a family. I have 5 children. In 1994, I became involved with 4-H as a leader. I also became involved as a licensed MCA coach. I coached girls soccer. I helped coach little boys baseball, which was t-ball. Most of them like to pick dandelions out in the field, but they did come in and learn how to play ball and share responsibilities on that. In terms of leadership, which is what we should train our kids to do, 4-H does a very good job of that. And part of that is learning how to give presentations. And we mentioned debate. I have been a debate judge here for many tournaments over the years, both at the high school level and also at the college level. It's very intense. Those kids put a lot of effort into that to become proficient in defending their position. And that's both sides. They have to be able to articulate why the positives would work for them and why some things are negative, and they have to defend their side. So I think those things are very valuable, and our schools do a good job of offering those types of programs. Theater, very critical. My kids were involved in all that. Symphony, municipal band. I served on the library board for 8 years. One of the things we completed when I was on the board was the children's library. I was on the board for the technical center, probably the most used part of the library. Very proud of completing that. We also, on the housing authority, which I served on for 2 years, we want to make sure that affordable housing is available for parents, especially single moms. We see most of that in the housing authority. It's got to be affordable. We want to encourage them to improve themselves, and we really have a very good program to encourage them to continue their education. Saline County City Health Board served on that, made sure we serve that population that needs to have that medical services. Thank you.
Okay.